So we're still at just 2, right? Okay, here's the stats, folks. We are not allowed to go off and have a council meeting without a quorum. So it doesn't look like we're going to have it right now. The public hearing that precedes the council meeting is a little less defined. And so after reading the fine print here and thinking through it, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hold this public hearing. Jack, we're going to let you go do your thing. So what I'm going to call here in a minute is I'm going to call for the pledge, and then we're going to do the public hearing, and then we're going to close it. But we can't vote on your certificate of appropriateness. That requires a form of that. So this at least gets this piece out of the way. It gets the public hearing piece out of the way. Okay? Everybody, you understand that? Okay. I can't tell whether people are saying yes or no. Okay. So with that, I think we all should rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. There's folks with the flag here, there's a flag back there. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Now, Jared, if you could go to the slides that concern the public hearing. All right. Now, what this public hearing is on is a permit application by Mr. Mudd to put up a sign on his property. It's actually a replacement, a new design of a sign, but the same kind of physical sign has been there for years. Let's go. And actually, we're going to try to kill both signs in one hearing here. So let's go. We'll back up to that. That's it. Is that requested to add graphics onto an existing 12 by 12 sign. Graphics will be made of plastic sign material and screwed into a board backing. This will be only temporary for about 4 months. This political sign will be taken down on or before November 10th and will be replaced by a new sign by the Troy Swift, owner of the Swift River Pecans, etc. What this public hearing is all about is to look at the signs, look at the location, and if anybody in the community has a comment to make it. So with that, go to the next, to the first sign, the political sign. Is the Trump sign. And then in the location, anybody got any comments, concerns, want to ask anything? Anybody, Lisa? So you're just supposed to listen. Okay, and the location is out along Highway 80, just across from Skyview a little bit. Backs up to Jack's Farm. Stay back towards your west a little bit from where your mouse is. You put the mouse over there. Right there, there's the edge. Okay, now, so people here in the room, anybody got any comments, concerns, etc.? What's the other sign look like? Jack, you got the other signs. What's the other sign going to look like? The other sign, there is a picture of it on that application. It's the Ed Pleasant West Pecan in Fences. Is it not on the back of that? Mm-hmm. Should be on the back. No? No. I think I may have a copy of it in the car. I thought every copy had it. It's Swift
Troy Swift in Venice that has the pecan business. He does woodwork, pecan woodwork, and pecan. And it's plain Jane sign. It's Swift River pecans, and it states in there that the things that he furnishes are pecans, raw honey, and woodwork, I think, and gives the directions. And there's no picture or anything on the sign, it's just letters. Mm-hmm. And I think it's in blue, light blue, black background with white and red letters on it. Okay. And if anybody wants to see, I think I might have a copy.
Okay, so any other questions on the folks here in the room?
Yeah.
One. All right. Whoop.
Here we got one online.
Who?
We got one online, Carlton.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about his right to put a political sign, but the size I think is inappropriate and doesn't comport with the sign sizes that the city has previously approved, which I think is 4x8 rather than 12x12.
Actually, if I may chime in on that, for the fact that this particular sign has been in existence since the late 70s,
Nope.
was grandfathered in with its sign size requirements. So the reason we're having to have this public hearing and go through this process is for the fact that the sign is not changing in its location, not changing in its structure and size, only in what is on the face of it.
May I comment?
Of course.
I believe that there's been a new sign base constructed that is different from the one that Mr. Mudd has had up for some time, selling property. And this one is much larger than that one. And we're talking about two different things. The base of this sign has not existed before.
So I am aware that there were some repairs.
No, there's a new sign. There's a new sign base that is much larger than anything that's ever been there before. Am I not correct, Mr. Mudd?
Yes, I was going to say we should ask Mr. Mudd directly.
That's Carl, he's asking you.
Negative, Carlton, Carl. That is the same sign that Native Furniture had up there before, 12x12. You can count the sheets of plywood in there and figure the square feet, and it's 144 square feet in both signs.
And under our current ordinance, it's 100 square feet, which is if a new sign is erected, that is the square footage that is required to be adhered to.
But the base of the sign, the superstructure of the sign has been replaced. So we're talking about whatever limitations of the sign ordinance are now. I mean, you can't if you're grandfathered in for a mobile home or something, you can't get rid of it and bring in another one.
Agreed.
If you're grandfathered in for a house on a small a piece of property that's not large enough, then you cannot tear it down and build another one necessarily. You can repair, but you can't replace. And the sign, the fundamental structure of the sign has been replaced.
And those were certainly questions that I asked and was informed with photographs of the old sign as well as the new sign and was told that the sign had been repaired, not replaced. So if there are boards that shore it up, I can't speak on if in fact shoring up an existing sign constitutes as replacing. Like I said, it is my understanding that the sign was repaired, had some repairs to be done, as well as because the current business that was on it, Native Furniture Works, is no longer in existence. So the lease to the sign became available. And there's a lag time. There's a lag time of 4 months between now and when the next signed tenant is to begin their lease.
Well, could, I would, this issue has come up before in terms of the amount of replacement that constitutes new versus repair or replacement. To me, the entire structure that's there looks new. I could be wrong, but Jack would know, or an inspection could demonstrate whether that's true.
Okay, Carlton, duly noted that you question whether it's old or not. Anybody else got any other questions?
I do.
And who is
Susan,
I?
Susan Schoen.
Okay.
My only
Susan.
question is, other than whether it's new or old and grandfathered in, on what basis could people actually object to the sign?
There are some rules in the ordinance, and I don't have them off the top of my head as to what can constitute a rejection by the council. If you have an objection, please note it.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's appropriate what mine would be, but I don't think you're putting it out there to say where the people disagree with what's on the sign. So I was just wondering what, other than being grandfathered in, what regulations are there that anybody would be voting on? But that's fine, I can look them up.
The size.
Yeah, just
It's in chapter 155, Susan. It's called the scenic corridor,
Okay,
and it has a list of all of those. I urge you to go get to that through the Martindale home webpage, the city webpage.
yes, sir, I will.
Okay, that'll get you there.
I'm sorry, it's 152 is the sign. 150 and 152.
Okay, thank you.
so if I may just to fill in a few small gaps, really and truly what the sign actually states, whatever it is, either supporting or advertising, is not necessarily what is at hand. In the scenic corridor, the question is, does it fall in line with everything else that's in the area? Or does it look like something that would be in, downtown, a big city instead of on Highway 80 with all the other signs? I can't show you guys my screen, but I currently pulled up a picture that is of the old sign. And interestingly enough, the old sign has an appearance of being smaller because the top and the bottom portions of the sign are a different color. So the black that was in the center was really more the focus. So I can see how it has the appearance that it used to not be the same size that it is. However, those measurements were done and proven up. So all we can really weigh in on as a council is, does it meet the requirements? And for the fact that it's been there for so long prior to the scenic corridor being in existence, all we can discuss is, is it the right color? I mean, that's really kind of it.
Okay, what, just a second, Charlton, we'll come back to you. Anybody else that's online? I don't know how many people we got out there now. Quite a few.
That's,
Go roll through the thing and see if we can figure out, anybody raising their hand. They're all muted, so hell we can't.
There's an option on there where you raise your hand.
Jeff Latterman.
Okay, Jeff, what you got? You have to.
I don't think I'm allowed to say what I think about all this, but the smaller the sign is, all I can say, and it should fit in with the rest of the signs that are out there. I didn't know about a scenic corridor. I'm really happy there is something like this,
right.
and anyway,
I mean, at absolute, once we do have a quorum and any type of decision can be made, it's my opinion that the worst thing that could be required would be for the sign to be reduced to 100 square feet instead of 144 square feet.
that sounds very reasonable.
But the amount, but what's on the sign for the temporary basis and or the business that is going to be leasing the sign in November is as long as the colors and it does not, as long as the colors, are not blinding, I guess, and would create some type of distraction on the road maybe. And any graphics that are on there, as long as they comply, that's really all we can weigh in on is the size.
Thanks, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay, Charlton's been waving his hand for another comment.
I just want to say that I am all for First Amendment expression of any kind, even when I don't agree with it. But I do think that the sign has been reconstructed, one point, and if it has to comply with current law, current provisions. And two, it should comply in any event with the sign restrictions that are in place for every other sign on Highway 80 in the scenic corridor.
Okay, thank you for telling us that again. We got anybody else on there that wants to raise their hand? Punch that little yellow button.
If I can, I wanted to ask Councilmember Allen question, because she did say that it's grandfathered in. So with this saying that it's grandfathered in, wouldn't it be grandfathered in if it was still like the original sign, but if it's a new sign, it wouldn't have to comply with the standards that we have now in the ordinance?
In my interpretation, thank you for asking that question. In my interpretation, and I am very open to being wrong. As a matter of fact, I actually like to be wrong because that means I get to learn something new. So my interpretation of the ordinance basically states that if the sign is a new sign, that it must comply with the dimensions. Either way, whether the face of the sign changes, just for the fact that the face of the sign is changing is the reason it's having to go through this process, because now there is a scenic corridor that it needs to comply with. If it were a completely new constructed sign, as if we took down the old and put up all new materials, that would warrant a little more discussion. based on what I believe is in our code of ordinances.
Okay, we got anybody else now? Going once.
Well, only could we ask Mr. Mudd if it was a reconstruction or not, and has there been an inspection of the construction?
You're gonna ask and answer it on a new reconstruction or whether it was a repair. The answer was a repair according to Mr. Mudd. Has it been inspected? No, I don't know of any inspection.
He wanted to know if it was, if the sign was redone on the front, the whole front, was it reconstructed or the front boards repaired?
The front has new boards on it. I had to replace the new boards when we took the old boards off of the native furniture. We couldn't use the same boards on there, and I replaced and braced it up a little bit. The sign is in the same place that it's always been, and the same size is what I'm proposing to put up, or that is up. We didn't add or take anything away from the size, and it's in the same place, just braced up a little bit more, and the new facing boards that are on there are new womanized boards that we put on there for a backing.
And I will just say, as I am also looking at a picture of the previous sign, it is leaning back. I can see in the photograph, I wish I could know how to share what I'm looking at, but it appears to be leaning back. So I can see how, some type of bracing, maybe our legal needs to weigh in on what constitutes replacing and repairing. To me, if you take off a rotten board and you replace it and you put a new board, that is a repair, versus if you take the entire sign down. So I wasn't there. All I know is what the application states.
Martha, we do them just like you do your buildings down here in Martindale. We do give them a new face job, and we keep them in the same place. That's exactly what we do, that I get.
Jack, well, I would just say that, the issue was raised about a repair that I made some time back, and the resolution was it a majority of the construction that was replaced, repaired, or not? And I would say that if you were honest, the majority of that sign construction has been replaced with new construction. Is that not true?
Okay. Wait a second, Carlton. Now, one of the things this is about is to get, at a public hearing, is to share your concern. You've done that, Carlton.
Okay.
We need to go move on with some other people.
Fine.
And insinuating that Jack's not being honest, I'll take exception to that.
Oh, I'm not saying
not-
nobody, I'm not saying he's not being honest. I'm just,
Well, okay, good. Now, is there anybody else that's currently on that would like to speak? And I don't know how we're gonna do it. You know how we're gonna do it?
They can take themselves off mute and ask to be
All
recognized.
right. If anybody else is out there watching wants to weigh in on this topic, now's the time to take yourself off mute. We're looking at the screen to see if anybody does that. Going once.
I
Going
got it.
twice.
Barry
Well,
Hamilton, let him
All
put
right,
up
here's
his sign.
All right, Barry. Yeah. It's
Mayor.
your turn to talk.
All I said is let Jack put up his sign.
Okay, we got that. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mayor, if I may just pose a question. Obviously, we are not taking this item to any type of vote, because to my knowledge, we still don't have a quorum. But
Correct.
therefore, I don't need an answer. to this question. I'm just posing it for Mr. Mudd to consider. If in fact, after we've done some additional research, first of all, let me chime back. When it comes to an inspection, I do not believe that was required. So then the other part is that the question that I would want to pose to Jack would be, if in fact the actual face size of the sign seems to be the issue for residents who will be driving past it, if he would potentially consider shaving off, sawing off the extra 2 feet on all 4 sides and making it 10 by 10 instead of 10 by 12. Again, I do not need an answer, but I think if in fact we do get caught in any, or we stumble on any particular issues and cannot get past them, I'm thinking that might be something that would satisfy others. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that. So with that, we've called and tried to get as much public comment as we could. We got plenty, and I'm going to go adjourn this public hearing now. Nobody else has asked for it. Of course, Jack, we cannot vote on your thing because we don't have a quorum. So with that, we would normally move to the beginning of the normal regular city council meeting, but due to the fact that we don't have a quorum, we're going to have to postpone this. And for those who are listening and those who are in the room, this is a pretty bad situation. We have got all kinds of city business coming up in the next 2 months. We got the budget, we got grant potential that was going to get taken care of tonight, that could go work on roads, parks. It is very disappointing that we cannot seem to get enough people here to go off and go do the business of the city. And last week, when we were trying to move this along quickly to go off and go fill the openings that were about to come up, there was an awful lot of pushback about why are we going so fast. Well, this is the exact reason we need to go fast on these kind of things, is because if we wait another month to go off and make these decisions, we're going to miss out on grants. We're going to miss out on a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to end up having to call another meeting this month. 21st is already spoken for, and I'll be putting that out here shortly to try to get going. So with that, since we had never got a forum when there's nothing to actually adjourn.
Mayor, is there when is this could we have a special hearing for Jack? Could we have?
At the next council meeting, what we have, it'll be on the agenda to do this, and we won't have to do it here. We've done it here today.
Can we try to do it on the 14th?
No, we can't do it on the 14th unless we move it someplace else. They're doing the election in here next week.
We can all go back to Zoom. I have a proposal for the fact that, yes, our agenda is quite packed and is very important in lots of areas that, I don't know what it would hurt, literally, the agenda get reposted tonight at the moment that we decide we're finished and give it another 72-hour run, which would be 1, 2, 3, that'd be on Friday. Not optimal. However, the election is not going to be in chambers, or the election people are not going to be in chambers at that time. We can always, and then the other thought is that we can always, do via Zoom and not have to worry about the election going on in chambers at the same time. If we so
I can't hear.
She wanted to do it on Friday.
Is it a Friday or not Friday? Tuesday. Yeah.
Can't do it on Tuesday. He's wrong.
Yeah, I can't do it on 14th. I'll be watching the returns.
We will let you know. We will send out a notification on when we're going to go do it. All right. With that, this meeting adjourned. Sorry, folks.
As much fun as we do.